When your kid is rude, it can really crush us, or it can put such a bad taste in our mouth that we actually don't even want to be around our kid. The thing is that it just comes with the territory, right? There are gonna be times, probably plenty of times, when our kid is rude, and in particular when our kid is rude to us. So we might as well figure out how to handle this situation, right? There are several thoughts that we can have when our kid is rude. These thoughts just kind of come into our brain without even realizing it, and that is kind of our reaction to what is happening. So some of these thoughts might be, my kid is so rude, or I hate my kid, right? What a brat, or my kid hates me. My kid is awful. I am the worst mom ever. The list can go on and on. We have a lot of thoughts around their behavior, right? So I realized lately, because this has been coming up a lot for me, I realized that these thoughts were not serving me. I wasn't feeling good about myself. I had no positive feelings toward my kid. And so I just decided I really wanted to make a change and figure something out so that I didn't feel like I was at the mercy of my child to be kind to me in order to have a good day, right? So my suggestion to all of us is to try to change these negative thoughts that we're having around our kid being rude. That way we can feel better and continue showing up as our best selves for our kid, which is what we all want. So as far as picking the new thought, we want to find something that really resonates with us. So I have come up with a few suggestions, but you can come up with anything you want. So my kid needs connection. My kid is still learning kindness. My kid is having a hard time right now. I'm doing my best and I'm a great mom. I love my kids no matter what they say. I choose to be kind no matter what. So again, you can pick any thought that you want. You just want to really be able to believe it and be able to latch onto it enough so that it will change how you're feeling about the situation. So for example, when your daughter screams at the top of her lungs, "I hate you!" your normal tendency might be to think, "Oh my gosh, she is so rotten." So I have had this thought plenty of times, and I will say that the feeling that comes from that thought is pretty intense. I don't feel any amount of love toward my child. I don't feel any desire to help them or to be there for them. I probably have the tendency to punish them or to withdraw love from them. And at the end of the day, all of these feelings are going to translate to me not being kind, not being the loving mom that I want to be. So another thought that might come into my mind when she says that is, man, I am such a failure, right? Have you ever thought that? Like, how did I raise such a terrible child? Like, this is my fault, right? So I have had this thought plenty of times, that feeling of being a failure because of something your child is doing. And that thought comes with a lot of different feelings. I feel bad about myself. I feel low self-esteem. I feel very uncertain and definitely a lack of confidence. I might feel desperate to win her back over. And none of those feelings are in a place of strength. And it's really likely to lead to maybe compromising on some boundaries that I shouldn't, maybe not teaching her the way I should, not correcting the behavior because her yelling "I hate you" is obviously not an appropriate way to express herself and should be corrected, but ultimately I'm not able to show up as the bigger, stronger, wiser, kind parent that I want to. Now let's experiment with one of our new thoughts. So what if my daughter screams, "I hate you," and instead I think to myself, my daughter needs connection right now. This thought immediately triggers compassion in me and love, a desire to help her, and notice that the place I'm at is not even focused on me, right? I'm not taking this personally. I'm truly making this about her because it is, right? And we all know that. We tend to lash out to the people closest to us if we're stressed or upset, and it has nothing to do with them. It's like an us problem, right? So in that moment, because of that thought, we are able to really put the focus where it needs to be, which is her and her need. She has a need right now that we could try to help address. So she is having a hard time, she needs me, and then I'm able to show up for her as a responsible, caring parent. So I'm going to be there for her, and then I'm going to be in a confident enough place that I can address that behavior, because that's the question everyone's thinking, right? Well, I mean, the answer is not to just change our thought. Like, we need to actually change the behavior, right? So we cannot change their behavior, but it definitely is our role and responsibility to teach our kids. So that brings me to the last kind of part of this, which is the reason that we're working through our thoughts before addressing the behavior is so that we can be an effective teacher. If we're hijacked, if our emotions are through the roof, we can't address that in a healthy way. And the other part of that is most likely they are not in the right place. They are not in a teachable place. So we need to recognize our feeling, right? And our state of being, and we need to recognize theirs. And in that moment of her saying, I hate you, how receptive is she gonna be to us just immediately correcting that? You know, you got to think to yourself how to get her into a teachable state. And oftentimes that means shelving this whole thing, right? Addressing it maybe in a single word or a sentence, but then circling back later. But in the height of the moment, when no one is quite at their best, right? Now is maybe not the time to have a heart-to-heart conversation. There might be a need that needs to be addressed. So first, we're gonna work on our thought, right? Make sure that we are in a good enough place so that we're ready to really make this about our child, because that's ultimately what we're trying to do. We're realizing it has nothing to do with us. I'm okay, I can handle this, right? I'm the grown-up, I'm ready for this. And then at that point, we can have a very, like what I like to do is have a very simple, maybe one-liner or some way to address the behavior. So if my daughter yells, I hate you, which luckily I don't know that she's ever said those words per se, but I'm telling myself she needs connection. So what am I gonna do? I'm gonna go to her, maybe hold her, maybe ask her what's going on. Maybe I'm just sitting there listening. Maybe she has more to say. I'm just there for her and receptive for her to express herself in a more healthy way, because that's all we're trying to do. We're not trying to make her happy. We're not trying to change how she's feeling. We're just trying to teach her how to express herself in an appropriate way. So as far as what that one-liner is, the one that I like to use is, sorry, excuse me. What you're saying about me isn't kind. Tell me about you. What are you feeling? So I've been using this phrase lately because my kids are getting older. I have an 8-year-old and a 6-year-old and then a 2-year-old. And I'm really wanting to heavily focus on teaching them to label their feelings and to focus on themselves, because that's really the root of the problem. So what I used to say a lot, probably a few years ago, is just kindness. That was just a very simple reminder that that's what we're wanting in our home. So it's kind of a very subtle way to kind of catch them like that's not okay, but then the conversation would come later. So your one-liner can be whatever you want, and obviously we want to gauge the situation. We don't want to make them even more upset. So we want to make sure to be showing up to them in a loving way and get them in that teachable place. It does take some time and work sometimes before we can just jump right in. We want them to feel their feelings. We want them to express those feelings in a healthy way, and that's all we're trying to do, is help them to know what you're feeling right now is valid. It is not okay to act that way. So if you've been with me for a while, that was kind of my go-to formula for toddlers, is acknowledging their feeling, right? Like, I can tell you're feeling really upset, then setting the boundary. It is not okay to talk that way to me. And then there's a choice. So a choice that you could give a child is, are you wanting to talk about this in a kind way, or would you like some time alone in your room? And you just have to be careful to remember when you're giving a choice, one of those things has to be within your control to enforce, because your child might not even make a choice, or they might not be able to handle kindness right now. And so you have a way of enforcing that to either put them in their room if they're young enough, or don't be giving them that choice if you can't enforce it. So that's what I like to do, at least right now. Of all those times when our kid is not the nicest. It happens a lot, and through consistency and us really just hammering it home that we want kindness in our home, it does sink in and they understand what that means, and they start really learning how to say that in a better way. So I hope this helped you. I would love for you to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, like this video, and we'll see you next time.